Every World Cup is iconic, but the 2022 tournament might just have been the most iconic of all time. Both Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo approached their mid-30s, and the debate of who had the superior career was approaching its crescendo. But going beyond just these two, Neymar was reaching the tail end of his prime and was desperate to bring the trophy home to Brazil to finally be considered as a true legend of his country. This tournament could have been considered the finale of this era of football, and with some of the most brutal games, shocking moments, and craziest goals all ending with the most exciting final in the history of the sport, it's hard to agree this wasn't the greatest World Cup of all time. So, without further ado, this is the entire story of the 2022 World Cup and why it was the greatest international tournament in history.
Mbappe! Oh, wow! Croatia for the second time! The Moroccan miracle! Messi will be sainted!
Now, before we get into match day 1, I need to fill you in a bit on the context because this was a controversial one to say the least. Qatar used questionable methods to get these stadiums in order so fast, meaning many Qatari workers lost their lives in the process, leading to supporters of clubs like Dortmund, Bayern Munich, and Hertha Berlin to reveal banners calling for a boycott. But ultimately, no official boycott of the tournament went ahead, and the 2022 World Cup was destined to feel completely different from previous tournaments because this was the first tournament to be held in the winter, and the first time it would be hosted by a country in the Middle East, which meant that major football leagues across the world would be forced to pause in late November before players would partake in a one-week pre-tournament training camp. Despite the unique circumstances that preceded the World Cup, one thing remained consistent. Brazil were priced by most bookmakers as the tournament's favorites, and this was hard to disagree with as their team included stars like Neymar, Rafinha, Fabinho, Thiago Silva, and Alisson, and they appeared to be the most complete Brazil side for a generation. It was expected to be Neymar's final opportunity to win a World Cup, and he wasn't the only legend of the era who was missing this trophy. It looked like both Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo might be calling this their last chance at winning the trophy and quite literally complete football. But both stars were in their mid-30s and seemingly entering decline. Lionel Messi had scored just 11 times in 34 appearances during the 21-22 season. Meanwhile, CR7 had returned to Old Trafford, where he had a blistering first campaign, but caused controversy in his second season, leading to manager Erik ten Hag leaving him out of the team. But one other favorite that had to be mentioned going into it was France, as they entered as the reigning champions, spearheaded by Kylian Mbappe, who was looking like he was going to play the villain role in this World Cup story. But still, Argentina had gone 37 games unbeaten before the tournament began, yet still they were a nation going slightly under the radar, as their team featured few household names beyond Messi. Okay, now enough with the pre-tournament context, it's time to head into the greatest World Cup in modern history. Starting with Group A, the Netherlands beat Qatar and Senegal and drew with Ecuador to finish in first position. And despite their defeat to the Netherlands, Senegal finished in second position after beating the bottom two sides in the group. Group B featured England, the US, Wales, and Iran, and with England fresh off the back of a Euros final in 2021, they were among the favorites to actually win the World Cup. But who are we kidding? They hit 6 against Iran and 3 against Wales to go top of the group with 7 points, while the US finished in second place after drawing with England and Wales before beating Iran. But one of the biggest shocks of the group stages occurred in Group C when Saudi Arabia kicked off their tournament by defeating Argentina 2-1. This was a shock. Messi was past it. Messi was not going to win the World Cup in his career. This was the talk at this point in the tournament at this time, and as Messi's head was hung in shame, who could have predicted otherwise but 2-0 victories against Mexico and Poland ensured the South American nation still topped the group and gave them a lifeline and a chance in the next round. They were also joined in the knockouts by Poland, who beat Saudi Arabia and drew with Mexico. Moving to Group D, France looked imperious from the opening day, with Mbappe helping the holders to a 4-1 victory against Australia before striking a double in the following match to beat Denmark 2-1. Shockingly, France lost their final game against Tunisia, but it didn't stop the two-time winners from topping the group. Denmark was among the tournament's dark horses, but a defeat against Australia ensured the Oceania nation reached the knockouts for the first time instead. Spain and Germany's progress in Group E seemed like it would be a formality, but somehow ended in tears for the 2014 winners as Germany suffered a shock opening day defeat to Japan before drawing with Spain in the second game. On the other hand, Spain thrashed Costa Rica 7-0 in their opening game and were expected to beat Japan in the final game, giving Germany a chance of progressing should they beat Costa Rica. Two late goals ensured that Germany beat Costa Rica 4-2 and finished the group with 4 points, but Japan shocked the world by defeating Spain 2-1, giving them 6 points and taking Germany's place in the knockout stages. Belgium's golden generation had a final chance of glory in Group F, but a defeat to Morocco and a draw with Croatia saw the star-studded team suffer an early exit, marking the end of the Belgian golden generation. Morocco and Croatia progressed to the knockouts after picking up 7 and 5 points, respectively. Moving to Group G, Brazil trudged to a 2-0 victory over Serbia on the opening day before a late Casemiro goal sealed a 1-0 victory over Switzerland in the second game. It wasn't a display of free-flowing Samba football, and their clear weaknesses were exposed during a final day defeat to Cameroon. Still, they topped the group and be accompanied by Switzerland, who beat Serbia and Cameroon in the knockout stages. But now all eyes turn to Group H, where CR7 opened the scoring for Portugal during a 3-2 victory over Ghana. They'd go on to beat Uruguay and lose to South Korea to top a group that they never looked entirely comfortable in. While South Korea's final day victory over Portugal and draw with Uruguay ensured they'd finish second, the story of the group came from Ghana versus Uruguay. The teams met during the 2010 World Cup when Luis Suarez controversially handballed a shot on the line to prevent Ghana from becoming the first African nation to reach the semifinals. Ghana had 3 points before the game and had a chance of progressing to the knockout stages before the game with Suarez's Uruguay on the final day. But the South American nation won 2-0 as Suarez passed the Ghanaian players. But South Korea's shock victory over Portugal ensured that neither side would reach the knockouts regardless. And with that, the group stages were concluded. So far, the only major exit being Belgium and Germany, and with Neymar, Ronaldo, and Messi's countries looking shaky, the odds started to look stronger and stronger in favor of Kylian Mbappe in France to retain the trophy. But now, as we enter the last 16, the drama really starts to heat up. But quickly, you should subscribe. I'm going to be covering so much World Cup content going forward, and it would mean the world to me if you join me on this journey. Okay, now back to it. After a group stage that saw Belgium and Germany take shocking early exits, the last 16 began, starting with the Netherlands versus the United States, and, to little surprise, the Dutch cruised to a 3-1 win thanks to goals from Memphis Depay, Daley Blind, and Denzel Dumfries. Later that day, Argentina took on Australia as the game played out to be more even than many imagined, with Argentina trudging to a 2-1 win due to a beautifully placed finish from Messi and Julian Alvarez exploiting a goalkeeping mistake. After beating Australia, Argentina knew that they'd face the Netherlands in the quarterfinals, a game that became among the most iconic in World Cup history as it was one of the most violent we would ever see. But we'll get to that later because there's plenty of last 16 drama to get through. Japan entered their last 16 tie with Croatia confidently after their group stage heroics, but the Slavs were no walkovers. They reached the final of the 2018 World Cup and had a squad filled with talent, including Luka Modric, Ivan Perisic, and Mateo Kovacic. The game finished 1-1 after 90 minutes in extra time, with Croatia winning 3-1 on penalties. Goalkeeper Dominik Livakovic won man of the match after saving 3 penalties in the shootout and looked sturdy enough to help Croatia progress into the tournament's later stages. But Croatia knew that they'd be facing Brazil in the quarters after the 5-time winners defeated South Korea 4-1 with goals from Vinicius, Neymar, Richarlison, and Paqueta inside the opening 36 minutes. Meanwhile, England were quietly emerging among the favorites to lift the trophy for the first time since 1966 as they beat Senegal 3-0, with Jude Bellingham and Harry Kane linking up impressively as the clear stars of the team. But their optimism was short-lived when they learned that their quarterfinal opponents would be France, who beat Poland 3-1 with Mbappe netting twice and assisting once. The then PSG forward's 2 strikes in the closing stages were spectacular enough to make the world stop and question whether France were set to retain the trophy. After all, not all their rivals appeared deadly. After losing to Japan in the group stages, Spain were knocked out on penalties by Morocco in the last 16 after boring football fans around the world for 120 minutes with a 0-0 draw. Morocco's quarterfinal opponents would be the winner of the Portugal-Switzerland tie. The game was among the most discussed in the tournament as Portugal dropped record goal scorer Cristiano Ronaldo but won 6-1, and in his place, Gonçalo Ramos scored a sublime hat-trick. Still, with Portugal having a seemingly favorable quarterfinal tie against Morocco, many backed CR7's nation to clinch the World Cup and rewrite the GOAT conversation forever. But that's not quite how it actually unfolded. Lionel Messi would play a huge role in helping Argentina defeat the Netherlands on penalties during their quarterfinal tie, but that's only half of the story. The story began in the lead-up to the clash, with the Netherlands boss Louis van Gaal claiming Messi doesn't participate much when the other team has the ball. That's where our chances lie. He also went on to say he can decide a game with a moment of individual brilliance, but in the semi-final we played against Argentina in 2014, he didn't touch a ball and we lost on penalties. Now we want our revenge. So Leo was pumped ahead of the game, not only to get one over on a manager who appeared to doubt him, but to also get a step closer to winning his first World Cup title. But Messi cannot have been the only player who took Van Gaal's comments personally, because the game became an absolute bloodbath. While heavy tackles were exchanged throughout the game, the battle didn't really begin until the closing stages. After 76 minutes, Messi converted a penalty to make it 2-0 to Argentina, seemingly helping his nation place one foot in the semis. 2 minutes later, Wout Weghorst was substituted on and the towering forward pulled a goal back for the Dutch, almost immediately making it 2-1. As the Dutch piled on the pressure to find an equalizer in the closing stages, Leandro Paredes made an aggressive challenge on Nathan Ake before smashing the ball at the bench, prompting every substitute to leap out of their seat and charge at the Argentine midfielder. Almost every player on the pitch was involved in one of the most heated fights in World Cup history, which, incredibly, didn't lead to a single red card. But the drama must have distracted Argentina as Weghorst converted a scrappy equalizer minutes later to send the quarterfinal to extra time. No goals were scored during the additional 30 minutes before Argentina won 4-3 on penalties, causing several of their players to make provocative gestures at the devastated Dutchmen on their way to celebrate with penalty shootout hero Emiliano Martinez. The celebrations resulted in more fighting as Denzel Dumfries was dismissed, receiving the 18th card of the game. Tensions between the two teams had not died down by the time they entered the tunnel, with Messi bellowing, "What are you looking at, fool?" as Weghorst watched his interview in despair. Leo had been a quiet, humble, and likable player during his prime years at Barcelona, but it was clear that the world was seeing a different side of the four-time Champions League winner on his desperate quest to find his first World Cup trophy. That same day, Croatia faced Brazil. After all the fireworks during the battle between the Netherlands and Argentina, the world needed a slightly more mellow affair, but this game was equally as shocking. Despite Croatia's charge to the 2018 final, Brazil was viewed as the heavy favorite leading into the 2022 quarterfinal. Neymar, Rafinha, and Vini Jr. lined up in a star-studded team that looked set to batter Croatia and cruise to the semifinals, but they were frustrated by the goalkeeping heroics of Livakovic. Brazil made 11 shots on goal, but could not get past the seemingly unstoppable keeper, and neither team made a breakthrough after 120 minutes. The game went to penalties. Livakovic saved penalties from Rodrigo and Marquinhos as Croatia converted each of their spot kicks, sending the Slavic nation to the semifinals without Neymar even contributing in the shootout. The defeat was particularly devastating for Neymar, who would have gone down as one of the nation's legends had he managed to lift the World Cup. But at 30 years old, it looked like this World Cup would be the final of Neymar's prime years, and that he failed to return the five-time winners to its former glory throughout his career. Meanwhile, Luka Modric strengthened his World Cup legacy further, having helped his underdog nation to the latter stages of consecutive tournaments. The game established that the 2018 Ballon d'Or winner had produced a stronger international career than Neymar. But if Brazil versus Croatia was a battle of two players who were entering their twilight years, England versus France was a battle of two players who were set to dominate international football for the next decade: Jude Bellingham and Kylian Mbappe. Mbappe's World Cup legacy was already legendary, having lifted the trophy as a 19-year-old, scoring 4 goals and producing a devastating performance against Argentina in the round of 16. By the time of the quarterfinal with England, Mbappe had notched 5 goals at the 2022 World Cup and already looked capable of breaking the all-time World Cup scoring record if he continued this rich vein of form. Meanwhile, Jude Bellingham was enjoying a breakout tournament for England, with many supporters suggesting that the youngster could become the nation's much-needed replacement for Steven Gerrard or Frank Lampard. Bellingham had started in each of England's games, producing 2 goal involvements and looking more influential with every touch. But even Bellingham's midfield dominance could not prevent France's Aurélien Tchouameni from scoring a glorious 30-yard strike after 16 minutes. England battled to get back in the game and were awarded a penalty after 53 minutes, which Harry Kane converted to level the score. However, England's dreams of a place in the semi-finals were shattered after 77 minutes when Olivier Giroud headed home France's second to make the score 2-1. But there was still drama to come. England were awarded a penalty 2 minutes later, but skipper Harry Kane smashed the spot kick over the bar, prompting jubilant scenes from the French fans and a meme-worthy grin from Mbappe. France held on and booked their place in the semi-final, where they'd face the winner of Portugal versus Morocco. Although Morocco had edged past Spain in the round of 16, the game did not appear to be a major challenge for Portugal. With Argentina's place in the semis, fans were beginning to dream of an iconic final featuring Messi and Ronaldo to determine who the greatest player of all time is. But while Messi had been delivering the goals for Argentina, Ronaldo's World Cup had been less fruitful. The 5-time Ballon d'Or winner scored just once in the group stages before being dropped for Portugal's last 16 clash with Switzerland. And with Portugal hitting 6 in the previous game without Ronaldo, the superstar was left out of the starting lineup against Morocco. But CR7's exclusion from the lineup was less effective in this game. Portugal created few meaningful opportunities as Morocco took the lead after 42 minutes thanks to a header from Youssef En-Nesyri. Ronaldo was subbed on shortly after the interval, with the whole world waiting to see if the legend could produce one more clutch moment. With Portugal still trailing by a goal, Ronaldo got in behind the Moroccan defense and had a shot at goal, but the ball slowly trickled into the goalkeeper's arms, almost symbolizing the end of the superstar's time at the elite level. Morocco held on to become the first African nation to reach the semi-finals of any World Cup in history, while Ronaldo stormed back into the dressing room with tears pouring down his face. As he fought the numerous cameras pointed in his face, Ronaldo was in despair, aware that he may have missed his final opportunity to win a World Cup during a game in which his nation was listed as heavy favorites. While Ronaldo's exit from the world stage was heartbreaking, Messi still had a chance to create the ultimate fairy tale ending, starting with the semi-final clash against Croatia. Argentina were not going into the game with the belief that winning was a formality. During the 2018 World Cup round of 16, Croatia defeated them 3-0 during a day in which Modric was magnificent, scoring from 25 yards out. After the final whistle of that game, Messi looked truly dejected, but 3.5 years later, the icon had an opportunity for redemption in one of the biggest games of his career. Not only was Messi desperate for a World Cup to serenade his illustrious career, but the whole of Argentina was too. The supporters, the players, and the coaches knew that it could be Messi's final chance to lift the trophy that eluded him and believed that he deserved to go down as the undisputed greatest player of all time. As such, Argentina supporters traveled to the Qatar World Cup in droves and created an electric atmosphere during the opening stages of the clash against Croatia. As Julian Alvarez went clean through before being brought down inside the box after 31 minutes, the screams for a penalty were so loud that the roof could have been blown off. The referee pointed to this spot. After a couple of minutes of arguing, Messi stood over the ball, breathed in knowing that his legacy was on the line, and smashed the ball past Livakovic. 5 minutes later, Alvarez made it 2 with a terrific solo goal, giving Argentina 1 foot in the final. Messi was mesmerizing throughout, delivering incredible dribble sequences as if he was still playing in his 2011 prime, eventually providing a superb assist for Alvarez to notch his second goal of the night. Argentina were through to their second final in the last 3 World Cup tournaments, and Messi's dream of finally lifting the World Cup was still alive. They learned their opponents the following night when France took on Morocco. Having already knocked out Spain and Portugal, nobody could underestimate Morocco. Achraf Hakimi was enjoying a generational run of form, while attacking stars like Hakim Ziyech and Sofiane Buffon ensured that they had quality at the other end. But despite that, the star-studded French team looked impossible to beat, with world-class players all over the pitch and talents as impressive as Eduardo Camavinga and William Saliba unable to break into the starting lineup. It was among the most complete international squads of modern history. And They destroyed Morocco's World Cup dream within minutes of kickoff. After a scramble inside the box after 4 minutes, Theo Hernandez opened the scoring for France. The goal was crucial. Morocco had been able to sit in a low block during their clean sheets against Portugal and Spain, but now we're forced to chase France. And with players like Mbappe in the French attack, you don't want to leave space at the back. In the 78th minute, the forward beat 3 defenders before the ball ricocheted to Kolo Muani, who tapped the ball into the net. The game finished 2-0 to France as Didier Deschamps reached a second consecutive final. The final was set to be an iconic battle between two of the game's greatest players, Mbappe and Messi. At the time, the duo shared a dressing room at PSG at club level, but were dominating the international game with their respective nations. Going into the final, Mbappe had already scored 5 goals at the 2022 World Cup, making him the tournament's joint top goal scorer. And with a total of 9 goals and 1 trophy to his name across his first 2 World Cup campaigns, the Frenchman was already within a chance of becoming among the most iconic World Cup players of all time. If he scored in another final and lifted the trophy again, there would only be a handful of players with more impressive World Cup records than Mbappe, despite the Frenchman still being in his early 20s at the time. But to achieve those accolades, he'd need to get past Messi's Argentina. Like Mbappe, Messi had scored 5 goals at the tournament and was enjoying the most prolific World Cup campaign of his career. If he won the World Cup, he'd end the decade-long Messi-Ronaldo debate, finally accomplishing a feat that his arch-nemesis was unable to equal. Not only would Messi clear Ronaldo by winning the World Cup, but many believed it would make him the undisputed greatest player of all time, setting up a final for the ages. Inside 20 minutes, Angel Di Maria made a daring run into the box before being brought down, forcing the referee to award a penalty to Argentina. Messi stood over the ball, started his run up slightly, and finessed the ball into the right-hand side, taking a giant step towards winning his first World Cup. 15 minutes later, Alexis McAllister received the ball in a dangerous position and played a sideways ball to Di Maria, who produced a composed finish, putting Argentina 2-0 up and sparking wild celebrations. No team had ever come back from 2 goals down to win a World Cup final, and everybody could sense that Argentina and Messi already had one hand on the glistening trophy. France rarely threatened Argentina throughout the remainder of the first half and the early stages of the second, but in the 78th minute, all hell broke loose. Kolo Muani pounced onto a loose ball and charged into the box before being tripped, prompting the referee to award a second penalty of the match. France had a lifeline, and Mbappe was not going to waste it. He smashed the ball into the net, closing the deficit to 1 and giving France hope in the final stages of normal time. 2 minutes later, the ball was intelligently headed towards Mbappe. Everyone in the stadium expected the World Cup specialist to take a touch or dribble with the ball, but Mbappe used excellent technique to volley the ball into the net and level the scoreline. At this point, with Mbappe unplayable and France having the momentum, they appeared the favorites to go on and win the game. But a breakthrough couldn't be found inside 90 minutes, and the game went to extra time. After 107 minutes, Messi was in the right place at the right time to convert a shot that rebounded off Hugo Lloris. Argentina had surely won the World Cup, and Messi's career had its crowning moment, but the drama didn't stop there. 8 minutes later, Mbappe took a shot from the edge of the box, which was handballed by an Argentina defender, and a third penalty of the final was awarded. Having already scored from the spot once, Mbappe took the opportunity to score a World Cup final hat-trick and converted his penalty as if pressure was a mere afterthought. The game ended 3-3, meaning a penalty shootout would decide the final. Mbappe and Messi scored with the first penalties for each team before Kingsley Coman and Aurélien Tchouameni missed their spot kicks for France. Argentina converted each of their penalties and won the shootout after Gonzalo Montiel scored the winning spot kick. It was Argentina's first World Cup since 1986 when Maradona mesmerized Mexico. At that time, it was almost unimaginable that another footballer could conquer the world in the way that Maradona had, but 36 years later, Messi had surpassed the legacy of Maradona and became the undisputed greatest player to ever play the game.